Porchlight Letters podcast number 2370. And today we're going to be talking about how do I piece together a story from small clues. Big stories often begin with very small details. If you think of like a detective, if you like mystery books, then you're going to know this one. If you watch mysteries, if you like solving puzzles, you're going to work on this. Small clues really make sense on their own. But as you collect these small clues, patterns start to emerge when details are connected. When I'm looking for a certain person, I set up a spreadsheet that will have their date of birth listed, the place that they were born, the name that they were given at birth, the date they were born, the place they were born, and then any other details throughout their life. I'll have them all listed down the side of a spreadsheet, and then I put the names the names go across the top as the column headings, and then I can sit there and I can see what starts to make. I can start seeing the pattern. I can start working out, is this one and this one the same person, or are they two separate people? So I can start seeing those things, because patterns will emerge when details are connected. Addresses, occupations, and neighbors reveal hidden links. They could be a part of a family living on a particular street. So you see the address, you see all the names, and you see their addresses and stuff, and you start realizing that, hang on, they all live next door to each other, or they live several houses apart, but they're all on the same street, all within a block, if you look at the maps. So always look at maps. When you're looking at census reports, look at the map to see where the census took place. And then if it's a whole bunch of housing, who else on that census report could be their neighbors? Who are their neighbors? Are they people who could be maybe related to them? Are they from the same community? Like you could have you have all the little Greek area, the little Italian area, you have the Chinese area, the Japanese area. You have little cultural neighborhoods that kind of tend to group together. So you start to notice these changes, these patterns emerge. What are their occupations? Who are their neighbors? And when you're looking at records, as I've said before, but for those that have never heard me before, always look next door. If you're on a census report, who was in the house next door to them? Who was the house on either side of them? For across the road, you're going to have to go over a few pages, because quite often the enumerator would come down this side of the street, get to a certain point, cross over, and then come back up the other side of the street. So you got to figure out what it was their route that they had to do when they went door to door to collect the census details. But looking at the addresses, who else lived on that street that had the same last name? Were they related? How were they related, if they were related? So start looking for that. Look for the people who have similar occupations. Maybe there was an association they belonged to, or a union, depending, of course, what time of what century you're in and what decade you're in. And so you start finding these little clues all over the place, and it actually starts to paint a really good picture. You know, a little paint by numbers, where you go and you do all the ones, and then you go and do all the twos. And it doesn't look much, but they're just little pieces that start as you start finding more pieces to go in there, it starts creating the bigger picture. Changes over time often signal deeper events. So if they move, why did they move? Where did they move to? So you start answering the bigger questions. Maybe somebody moved out of a house because they got married and they set up their own home. It could be something like that. So, okay, so if they're living in a different address and they now have a spouse, where's their marriage information? Now we can go looking for their marriage information. So stories form when clues are placed side by side. If you think about all the mystery novels that you have read, they're picking up little clues as they go along that end up creating the bigger picture and finding out who did it. Detectives find these clues that they have to put the clues together and gather the evidence to go with it. And as they gather the clues and gather the evidence, the bigger picture becomes more noticeable. So you can't, without noticing small details, meaningful stories remain invisible. This is why you need to keep looking at the little details. Investigate the little details. You look at the detail and go, oh, no, that's not them. Yeah, maybe it is. So now you need to go back and have a look and just take a little more notice of those smaller details. So your practical takeaway for today is collect clues without rushing to conclusions. Because if you rush to conclusions, you could end up being wrong, which happens in most cases. A few cases are you actually right. But you've got to gather all those little clues, because they lead to the bigger picture. Think of your jigsaw puzzles. You got those little small pieces, and as you start putting them together, the picture becomes clearer. I like doing the jigsaw puzzles that have no picture to go by. You just got to figure it out as you go along, because that when you think about it, if you're doing um, a a jigsaw puzzle and there is no image on the box for you, you've just been given a plastic bag full of pieces. You have no picture to guide you. Think about it this way: when a detective works on a case, all they have is the crime scene and whatever clues they can gather from that. They don't know what the big picture is going to look like. They don't get handed here's a box with your big picture. This is what the case is going to look like. In fact, there was a murder mystery series of jigsaw puzzles a while ago. They had a picture on the front, but it was not the picture of the jigsaw. You had to put the jigsaw pieces together based on the clues in the story. And they had a booklet that had a little story in it, and you had to figure out first of all, you had to put the jigsaw puzzle together because there were clues in the picture of the jigsaw puzzle that would help you solve the crime. It was a really cool thing to do because you had no guidelines and you're looking at pieces and going, well, what's that for? And it could be a drawer pull, it could be something, it could be a handle on a door, it could be something else because you don't know the scale of the picture at the time. But you can get all the edge pieces in place and then start filling in the middle pieces. But and then you go, oh, these pieces look like they go together. So you put them over here. And oh, these pieces look like they go together. So you put them over here. And then you start assembling these small pieces and putting them together into the bigger jigsaw. That's basically what you're doing with genealogy. You're taking all those little clues. You have no idea what the end picture looks like for the person that you're hunting for, looking for, investigating. So you start putting these little pieces together to create that big picture of who that person was so you can tell their story. So your practical takeaway for today is collect clues without rushing to conclusions. And if you want help interpreting the family clues, send us a private message. We'll be more than happy to set up a discovery call with you. A free, no obligation discovery call as well. And in closing, every detail is a doorway to a larger story. So with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konera.